example of why. If you were an investor, one of the things you would need to do is evaluate one investment versus another. Okay? So if you look at two businesses here, and you look at the way most people look at their businesses, you would say, all right, business A has $250,000 profit, business B has $150,000 profit. Which is the better business here? Anybody? Don't know yet. Very good. Most people will say, though, on that information, it's A. Pretty simple, actually, more profit. But you're right, John. Because if you don't know how much capital is rising, you don't really know, relatively speaking, how those businesses are doing. So if business A had $1 million invested up front in capital, you had business B with $500,000, well, now it looks a little different because business B actually has a better rate of return. And if I were an investor, I would take 25% over 15%, but 30% over 25% every day of the week. And then you add another level of complexity, and that is how fast the money is coming in. And if collection is 10 days or 20 days quick, can anyone tell me which now is the better business in light of all this? And if you can, very good, and if you can't, it's no surprise, because it's not that easy. Yet most people just look at a single line of success factor in their business. It's their P&L. Now, why do we look at a P&L statement? It's a snapshot, but more important, it makes us feel good or feel bad. When profits are up, it's very visceral. I'm happy. When profits are down, I'm miserable. But you receive actually two documents in business, typically from your accountants and financial people, okay? You receive a P&L and that other sheet. What's it called? Balance sheet, right? How many people in this room, if you're running a business, typically turn to your balance sheet every day? I find most people in business don't even know what a balance sheet is really for. They have it, and when I do ask and get answers, people say, well, I look at it, I want to know how much my business is worth. Some people are a little more astute, and they say, well, I want to know, how much debt I'm carrying, or I want to see how my collections, what's going on with my cash. And those are the smart investors. Problem with accounting, though, is that when you get these two documents, you don't get them because they're necessarily designed to be helpful for you. And this is where I'm picking on the accountants a little bit. No complaint about what accountants do, and they're very necessary, and there are great accountants, and you should all have one. But the fact is that bookkeeping and record keeping is an accounting of the past. You can't drive a car looking in the rearview mirror all the time, but our accounting systems are entirely based on what has happened. And very few accountants do or should try to tell you what's going to happen in the future. That's your job. They may ask questions to bring it on. They may project that you're not sustainable once it's already happened. But the reality is that accounting is all about what's happened, and it's a system that's been around for a long time. It's not all that useful to us running our companies. Now, people laugh here. Tiger Woods was a little better regarded. Now he's kind of fallen, not quite as low as Bernie Madoff, but he's certainly become more a butt of a joke. But there's something here. When you're looking at your business, I like this Accenture ad you'd see in the airports all the time, because it says what you do next versus what you did. And that's really what running a company is about. So you need that historical data, I'm sorry, but you need more of a means to get yourself moving forward and knowing what to do when things don't go well. So problem with accounting is that it's deliberately confusing in terms of terms they use, because quite honestly, if you understood everything that an accountant did, they tell me they couldn't charge as much. So for many people that are not financially trained, it's just awfully complex. It's driven really by compliance, and I think that's something that everyone should understand clearly. The documents that you get, the balance sheet and the P&L statement, are not necessarily designed because they help you make decisions. They are designed to keep you in compliance with the taxation authorities, because you have to determine for the government what piece of what you've earned needs to be given over. And if you have lenders and other people that are looking at your business, it's part of the compliance that is required for them as well. Your accountants also have another disconnect with that first premise of why you're in business, which is to generate profit. And that is, you hire an accountant with the expectation that they are going to impose a tax minimization strategy. Most people, in all fairness, want to spend as little on taxes, and for good reason. Either keep it themselves or put it into their business. No one ever said to an accountant, I want you to figure out how to maximize the amount of money I'm going to give to the government. So immediately they're giving documents that are skewing the information to reduce the presence of profit in the picture for good reason, when your objective is to improve profit. So I'm just saying that the documents by themselves are data, they're real, but they're not necessarily that helpful to you. Oops. Why am I so challenged here? Come on. There we go. Most business owners, most CEOs, most entrepreneurs make all decisions in their gut, okay? And the problem with the gut is that we don't have enough information to be a deliberate leader if we don't look beyond just that queasy feeling that we might get or that excitement that we feel. The type of information that you need, actually, and I apologize for this being dense, but it's dense on purpose. There are really 25 items that are critical to your fiscal health of your company. These are the items that will tell you whether you're running a company in the right direction or running a company into the ground. These are the ratios that the bankers look at when they're evaluating your company for loans. These are the ratios that you are dependent on in maintaining covenants with lenders once they've loaned you the money, and it's what investors will be looking at when they look at your company as well. Yet the majority of people that run companies are not trained in this, and the accountants are not really being paid in most cases to provide the CEO with knowledge about what these things mean. They may understand relative to your covenants with your bank, but the reason this is important is that there's a difference between having compliance and having information in terms of operational competence. But as a CEO, as the person leading the company and protecting the assets, you have to be able to make strategic decisions, and these are the things that are important. And I have a little card here, and it actually, at the end of the presentation, you can come and pick it up, and it will nicely and neatly explain every one of these to you, and you can go to whoever does your financials and ask them to work them out, discuss them with you. It explains why you need them, and I suggest that you have them. So if you want to be a deliberate leader in financial terms, this is what you need to do. Now, if you were to look at a stock table, remember when those were both profitable and in the newspapers on a regular basis? This is pre-internet. When you looked at this, what was the first thing you did? Did you open up the page and just look at the whole page and get sick or get excited? No. If you were like most people, what you did is you zeroed in on what? Yeah, you look for your individual stock. Now, did you look at the entire line? Mostly you looked at that little arrow, plus or negative. I'm up or I'm down, right? All this data does not have a whole lot of value to you. What has value, of course, are trends. Tracking trends is what makes actionable sense of data. And yet, most people who are running companies don't have access to actionable data. We get reports from our accountants, but we don't look and say, what does this mean today? What is this likely to mean in the future? What can I do with this to make better decisions? Because that's our job. So while I'm not going to go through in detail, as I said, this is part of a boot camp program that I do, just want to make the point that if you were to chart what goes on in your business on a day-to-day basis, it would look something like this, and you would get seasick following it. Because accounting is periodic, meaning that it's required that you have a start and an end to account for what has happened. So every month you close your books. Every quarter you may come up with another number. At the end of the year you have something. And if you go monthly, you realize that they're up and down. And some of that is because you have seasonality, and some of it is just because your customers make decisions that are adverse to your needs at times. They buy something before the end of the month because they have to spend the money, or they wait until next month, or if you have salespeople. How many people have salespeople? Oh my God. Now, they start to manipulate this too, because they say, well, I want to make my quota, or I'm already at bogey, I'm not sure what next quarter is going to look like. So you have data that doesn't really give you a sense of what you're doing. It's very distorted if you look at it that way. So what I'm suggesting to you as one tool and a takeaway today is trailing 12 months as a, there we go, as a way to chart. And if you give me your business card at the end of the presentation, I can send you by email a spreadsheet that'll lay out for you simply how to do this. But the deal with 12 months trailing, if you don't use it already, is simply that if this month's data is better than last month's data, it will push the trend up. You'll see where you're going. And quite honestly, if you don't see where you're going, you risk not getting there. So the critical thing, again, is you need to be able to look at trends. That does not provide a trend, this does. So I would like you to look at the data that you get, take your ratios, take the information off your balance sheet and your P&L, your income statement, and I would like you to start thinking about how can I see trends in what I've got. And then a simple tool, if you can do that, is to budget forward and really prepare. You know, when Sullenberger took that plane down, he didn't say, oh my God, I don't know what to do now. I wonder if it would work. I wonder if I should put it down in the water. He knew immediately, wow, okay, engines are flaming, things are going down, that's where I'm going, okay? He wasn't going, oh my God, help me. Yet most business owners, when things are not going in the right direction, get into that, oh, where do I go? And you might ask your brother-in-law, you might ask your accountant, you might ask your lawyer, but they're not driving that plane. And it might be too late by the time you get an answer that is sufficient. You have to be able to predict what's in front of you. So if you budget, it's a good idea. But most people budget, and they set it for the year, and maybe they don't look at it. But even if they do, 7 months into the year, there's only 5 months of forward driving left. And if you were driving your car that way, it would be pretty ludicrous. It would be like putting your eye fixed on the highway. I'm driving down, and I'm going like this as that section of road comes across the front of my car, and then I'm going up like that. You're not really steering the ship. You want to keep enough forward information in front of you. And it's really very simple to do, because if you do 12-month rolling or trailing indicators, you can actually roll them forward by taking your projections at any point in time and simply taking the 12-month data that you've put in and now project what 12 months is going to look like. Is it going to be the same? Put it the same. Is it going to be 5% lower in terms of revenue? Mark it what you think it is, because every single month, all you have to do is take 1 month off the back, add 1 month to the front, and continually look at, are we on track? If business owners did just this, if entrepreneurs did just this themselves, instead of relying on, well, I think we're doing okay, I think we're going to have enough cash, I think that our expenses are in line with our growth, I think that the reduction in revenue is going to still cover those expenses, and now look at it more credibly, I can guarantee you you'll make better decisions. And you don't need to be a financial expert to arrive at these conclusions. Now back to the golf analogy. If you were to tee off at Sawgrass, and I'm a lousy golfer, I couldn't hit this if I had a cannon and 4 people carrying the ball for me, I think. But bottom line is that, you know, you watch the golfers, and they pick up a piece of grass right at the hole, right? 17th hole. Why do they do that? They want to see if the wind has changed since the first hole. Yet most people go forward in the year and never check to see what is really changed for us, what has changed for our business. And again, it's just foolish. The next tool is something that's something of an aha for many people, and it's called a J-curve. And this, I think, is the most important takeaway that I can impart today. And that is, as an investor, you have to understand that the investment you make or made in your business is not just how it started. We make continual investments on an ongoing basis. As an entrepreneur, you may have done a business plan, or you may have seen it. The hockey stick is this. This is everyone's business objective, right? We're going to go down a little bit. And by the way, it really does look like a hockey stick. That's why. So let me explain this to you, and more important, why it's important. A J-curve is a strategic decision to spend money today with the anticipation of a future benefit. Well, that's why you went into business. But it isn't just that. There are many things that are continuing J-curves. If you do product development, R&D, you're going to spend money on that product before you're ever going to bring it to market, even if you're a business with 100 years behind you. Boeing aircraft engines went out of business because they kept investing in new prototype engines with the hope that Only 1 in 5 might go to market. Well, they absorbed so much cash, so much resources, that when they missed target, a large company just went bang, okay? And small businesses do this all the time because it's not just R&D. You purchase a printer. You purchase software. How many people have purchased software that sits on a shelf and it never gets used? Okay? How about hiring? Why are hiring people an investment? Anyone know? It's risk. Now let me just review something on the investor side. What is the objective of a wise or capable investor? Anyone know? What do you do? What? Return. And what is the nemesis of return? What is the thing that you're really managing? Risk. Absolutely. The idea is you have to balance the amount of risk that you take against the anticipated reward that makes it worthwhile. If there's too much risk versus the intended reward, then don't put the money there. And the same thing is true in a business. Now, when you hire someone with the expectation that they're going to do everything that they said they promised, that their resume did, and you fell in love with them anyway. Do they usually work out just that way? Always, right? Do you know how much it costs when you make a bad hiring decision? Anyone have a clue? Yeah, it's a lot. The HR people that look at these numbers say it's about 2.5 to 3 times what you pay them on an annual basis just by pulling the trigger and misfiring. It's a lot of risk there. How long does it take for an even perfect employee to reach perfection for your needs? Competency usually doesn't come quickly. Perfection may never get there. So you're going to spend 6 months, 18 months, in some professional areas up to 24 months before they're even getting back at you what you anticipated, and you've invested all these months to pay for. So again, these are just J-curves. If you add a premises, if you expand, some companies are looking at acquiring competitors. If you go overseas, these are all J-curves. The point that I'm trying to make about this is that that is what business is about, the constant evaluation of these micro investments within that general investment that you've made. And if you don't have the means to measure it, understand it, and manage that risk, the chances are you're going to be in trouble. So to get into it a little bit more graphically, what I look at here is the technical look. I'll call it the technical view of a J-curve. Now, you can't actually chart this yourself, but I think you can understand it in a chart a little bit better. Actually, I'm going to take this off, because this is much better this way. Thanks. So what you're doing, if it's a matter of investing today for tomorrow's benefit, what you're really doing is saying, I'm going to take a certain amount of money, I'm going to bring it down to a point, it's going to start making me money, and then over here, eventually we're going to get to this blue sky. This is what seduced us to do this to begin with. Now, that's great if it works that way, because you don't just move smoothly through it. What you actually find along the way is this zone of risk. Because all the money that you put in, at this point, if I invested $100,000 in a new product, and I'm down here ready to turn it around, till it pays me back, I haven't done well on it. All right? If it starts to make me money, well, that's what Bernie Madoff did, right? If I gave Bernie Madoff or any investor, someone managing my investments, $100,000, and for the next 3 years I got $20,000, I'd be pretty happy with that return, would I not? But if it stopped there, I'm $40,000 in the hole. So that's not a very good investment. It felt good, but it wasn't good. And this is the zone of risk that you have and undertake with every little investment you make. And the idea is you have to be able to know how deep is that trough and how long will it take, what's it going to cost me till I get out. And if I don't know that, I don't know that I should get into this, because you can drown in that risk pool. Okay? My son told me they were going to go swimming at this swimming hole. There was a cliff they could jump off of. And he said, don't worry, Dad. We've measured it. You know, we took a cinder block and we took a climbing rope, and we know that it's at least 60 feet deep. Boy, that just made me feel so comfortable, right? If you don't know how far you got to go or when you're coming out and you're swimming, you drown. Well, in a business, what you're losing is not air, it is capital, it is cash flow. And that's why this is critical. The other thing about it is it's not just what's going on, it's what you're doing or not doing to manage it. Because even if you evaluate that it's going to be worthwhile to invest in a new machine or a new hire or new technology or an advertising campaign, what ends up happening is that we become emotionally involved in this. And how many people have invested in something like this and you say, well, this is a real story in one of my businesses, new product coming out. And I've got R&D, I've got marketing people, everyone's working on it. We've got $150,000 slated for level 1 development of this particular product. It's a wireless device. And it's supposed to take 9 months till we're ready to roll out to market. And of course it doesn't. And somewhere around this point when we're supposed to be turning around, I have a meeting with my team, and the technology group says, well, you know, the people who are doing the radio controller in Hong Kong are delayed, and the marketing people say, well, the people who are doing a competitive device have new features, and we have to add them. And all this stuff comes on, and I got a queasy feeling in my stomach, because what are they asking for? And money. Because remember, once we got to the bottom of this, how much of the $100,000 has been spent? All of it, not half of it. So at this point, you say to yourself, okay, what's it going to take? How much time do you need? How much more money am I going to be spending? And please, please, get it right. Well, they're not going to get it right. We know that. So when they tell me they need 2 more months and $50,000, I know it might take 6 months and $100,000. But I say, okay. And I say, we're not going to go 9 months till we figure this out. I want to see you in my office every week until this gets done, and I want to make sure this damn well gets done right. And then 3 months in, you're saying, well, it's almost there. And why do you keep investing in this? Because if I stop, I lose everything that I've put in so far. And what is that called? Sunk cost logic. So that's an emotional trap that you have to avoid. If you don't, not only will these problems absorb your attention, because that's what do you sit up and worry about the things that are going well? Usually not. And you're also funding this typically out of what? Out of cash flow. So the money that you're taking to fund these disasters are usually at the expense of other things that you need or should be doing or could be profitably investing in. Yet we don't cut the cord at that point, and very often we drag our companies completely down. And in that case, not only do you risk potential, but you risk bankruptcy. Les, how much time do I actually have? We're good?
No, you're done.
Okay, that's where I wanted to say. I saw Les moving around over here. As I promised you, this is a reduced presentation on a normal presentation with a half-day program that is available. But I did want to just get that point very, very clear to you, that the bottom line for an entrepreneur is not to look at how good my idea is. It's not to look at, will I be profitable? But how can I become a deliberate leader? How can I gain control of the things that I need to control to assure not only profitability, but sustainability? I'll leave you with one last thought, and that is, if you don't remember anything else, just remember these 3 points. And that is, revenue is fantasy. Profit, that's sanity. Cash flow, that's reality. And if you can't bring yourself to a point of understanding and managing and driving cash flow, then you can't really run a business. And that is the difference between great products that become great fixtures in the marketplace and great ideas that just go unsung. I thank you very much for the time that you've allowed me here today. I'll be available if you have any other questions. These little documents or flyers are available for anyone who would like them, and I'll give the microphone back to my friend here, Les. Thank you very much.
We need podiums and clocks, do we? Phil's going to be around for anybody that wants additional information, questions, answers. Hope Phil has some answers. We run into a lot of these situations with budding entrepreneurs, inventors, every single day. People know what they think they know, but they don't know what they don't know. And therein lies a lot of the issues. Entrepreneurship, small business, is a very intriguing topic. I've just been going through some personal analysis on critical thinking and how critical thinking is changing the world of innovation and entrepreneurship. And it becomes a very interesting topic to know where you are and to try and get to where you're going and find the path of least resistance and minimize the risk for you and your investors. So I hope this has been helpful this morning. Again, our next meeting is going to be on the 24th of February. Put it on your calendars if you would. Invite your friends. We will not be competing with other organizations next month, so we should have a more significant turnout internally. We thank you all for coming. There's no need to rush off. The whole idea here is to meet people that can help you and your organization. So thank you all for coming and have a productive day.